Today is Valentine's Day, in case you didn't realize. In fact, if you're a man listening to this and you just remembered what day it is, don't panic. There's still time to run to the store on the way home from work, pick up a gift. Most of the cards and flowers probably get picked over by now. But fortunately, I've always found that the pots and pans and kitchen utensil aisle of the grocery store is well stocked around Valentine's Day. So grab a box of forks, a spatula, maybe a new spaghetti strainer if you really want to spoil her.
Wow, if you really want to spoil her, get your girlfriend or your wife a spaghetti strainer, because that will really show how much you love them. Hey honey, I got you some more kitchen supplies because your only purpose in life is to cook me food because I'm a man, baby, and I can't cook for myself.
Throw them in a gift bag. You're going to have a very happy wife. And I'm willing to bet a romantic evening as well. Take my word for it. But
Wow, if that is what your wife considers to be a romantic evening, I feel really bad for her because she is probably truly unhappy and has been brainwashed by you and others to believe that she is happy because you're buying her kitchen utensils. Wow.
of course, not everyone is interested in romance. And for some, even a brand new nonstick frying pan wouldn't be enough to pique their romantic interest. This is the so-called asexual and aromantic community. Unfortunately, they are the ones that the Washington Post is thinking about on Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Aromantic and asexual people, they don't experience romance and sexual feelings like people normally do. But it doesn't mean they don't want relationships and stuff. It just means there are certain aspects of relationships that they're just not interested in.
This weekend, WAPO published a piece written by a woman named Samantha Sherry, and it was titled, quote, "How Asexual and Aromantic People Make Valentine's Day Their Own." Now, the article begins by telling us about a 37-year-old person who goes by the name Odell Pax, and the Post reports this. Odell Pax identifies as both asexual and idem-romantic, which means that she does not have any desire for sex and she doesn't make any distinction between romantic and platonic feelings. So what to do with a holiday that assumes romantic and sexual attraction are the norm? This year, she's doing what she usually does on February 14th, making time for self-love and self-care. For her, that means soaking in a hot bath before curling up in bed with her three stuffed animals, Findle, Marcia, and Sylvia. The last two names are named after trailblazing trans activists Marcia P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera.
Ooh, that actually sounds like a good time. If you want to do something solo, chilling in a long bath and cuddling with some stuffed animals, probably watching some TV, eating some snacks. You don't have to do the bath or the stuffed animals. You can just chill at home, watch some TV, hang out with some friends or whatever. Valentine's Day, you don't have to do anything for the holiday. Valentine's Day is nice, but it's not like a make or break kind of day.
Yes, why not? Why not tell us the names of this grown adult stuffed animals? And if that's not enough, we're also treated to a picture of Odell with the stuffed animals, along with this caption. This is the caption under the picture. It says, "Odell Pax with her three dolphin stuffed animals, Sylvia, Findle, and Marcia, from left to right." It's a very good thing they specified from left to right, because otherwise we wouldn't know for sure which stuffed animal is named Marcia and which one is Sylvia. So now we know, and we can sleep easy tonight.
No, they're just doing a thing that people normally do with pictures and naming people, objects, or things. They'll say from left to right, what is what, so people know in the pictures. If that upsets you, you need a better life.
Sleep easy, anyway, with the somewhat cruel satisfaction we all sometimes experience after seeing someone else's utterly pathetic and depressing life and feeling deeply relieved that it's not our own life. I try not to delight in the misfortune of others, and I don't delight at all in Odell's misfortunes. I don't.
I kind of doubt that you don't delight in the misfortunes of others, because you seem to really like it when trans people suffer.
But I will admit that when I read this article and I see that picture, I can't help but think to myself, my God, I am glad I'm not that person.
Oh, so you okay, so yeah, you were lying. You do delight in the suffering of others. Though this right at the moment is just some perceived suffering that he thinks she's suffering from, but he's happy about it nonetheless.
Anyway, here's more from the Washington Post. It says, PAX is not alone in rejecting the notion that relationships acknowledged on February 14th have to include romance and sex. Roughly 1% of lesbian, gay, and bisexual Americans are asexual, according to a study from the Williams Institute at the University of California, Los Angeles. Although experts such as Jennifer Pollitt, Assistant Director of Gender, Sexuality, and Women's Studies at Temple University in Philadelphia, believe the population is undercounted and its influence underestimated because of a lack of awareness. Sexual intimacy is often placed on a pedestal to sell products, especially for Valentine's Day, Pollitt said. But love without romance or sex is just as valid and fulfilling for asexual and aromantic people. As more people understand that, there will be more support for people exploring their relationship wants, hopes, and needs. In the meantime, many people on the A spectrum, also known as ASPEC or ASPEC, an umbrella term for anyone who identifies as asexual and aromantic, are finding creative ways to define the holiday on their own terms. Now, the article does continue providing along the way more examples and anecdotes of asexual and aromantic people celebrating Valentine's Day, but I think we've probably already heard quite enough. We've heard, for example, this sentence. Again, roughly 1% of lesbian, gay, and bisexual Americans are asexual. Now, let's think about that. Bisexual Americans are asexual. That is exactly like saying that 1% of polytheistic people are atheistic.
Wow. No, I mean, they like men and women, but they probably don't. They either probably don't have like a real sexual attraction, but like a romantic attraction, or they just like being in relationships with men and women. That's not really that hard to understand.
Or that 1% of empathetic people are apathetic. You cannot be something and also the negation of that thing at the same time. If somebody is sexually attracted to two sexes or sexually attracted to the same sex, that means they do experience sexual attraction, which would seem to preclude them from claiming the title of asexual. But then again, we must remember the first rule of the LGBT cult, which is that they can make it up all as they go along, and nothing they...
Wow, the LGBTQ cult. That's funny coming from a guy who is in a cult. Because let's be truthful here. If you are in a religion, you are in a cult. Just because it's a larger cult does not negate the fact that it is still a cult. I just love how like right-wingers want to like claim that other people are in cults and that like their cult is somehow like more legit, and it's just funny. But the LGBTQ community is not a cult, so it's like comparison is just bullshit.
They say has to comport with anything else they say. And they must never be held to even the most basic standard of coherence. That's why any attempt to...
Basic standard of coherence. Again, coming from a religious dude, a dude that believes some kind of fictional creation gave birth to himself after raping a kid, and somehow that negates this quote-unquote bad thing two people did in a garden, convinced to them by a talking snake. I mean, if you really want to be coherent here, let's get rid of religion, because that is truly incoherent.
To nail down a definition of what qualifies as asexual or aromantic will ultimately wind up as fruitless as any attempt to get anyone on the left to give a definition of literally any other word they use.
Okay. You want to talk about definitions here, Matt? What's your definition of woke? Because right-wingers love to use that word, but they never really define what woke is.
Ever heard of a data broker? They're the middlemen collecting and searches and look. They actually stop.
Let's
think about every site you visit. ExpressVPN, whether you're private, the app has invade your...
I don't care about your sponsor.
The Cambridge University website attempting to delineate between these two categories of asexual and aromantic. This is what it says. Asexuality is an orientation defined by a lack of sexual attraction. That means that an asexual or ace person experiences little or no sexual draw towards others and has little or no desire to have sexual relationships with other people. However,
Yeah, and those people can be still romantically inclined to have relationships with people. They just don't want to bang them.
the asexual spectrum has many nuanced identities that fall under the umbrella term asexual. Some of the more common ones are gray sexuality or gray asexuality, where someone experiences sexual attraction rarely or infrequently. Another common identity is demisexuality or demi-asexuality, where someone only experiences sexual attraction after forming a close emotional or romantic bond with another person.
Yep, and I mean, there's a lot of people like that. Some people don't want to bang a person unless, they have some kind of connection with them because it makes everything better. And then there are some people that just will bang whoever they want because that's just how they like it. Everybody is different.
There are many other identities on the ace spectrum, but what they all have in common is the lack, to varying extents, of sexual attraction. Aromanticism, on the other hand, is an orientation characterized by a lack of romantic attraction. While asexuality is a sexual orientation, aromanticism is a romantic orientation, and the two don't necessarily correlate. Someone may be asexual but not aromantic, or vice versa, or they may be on both spectrums.
It's kind of like where a situation where somebody could be like sexually attracted but not romantically attracted. It's like there is a person you enjoy banging, but you don't want to be in a relationship with them because you just don't find them to be that kind of fit, and you're just not attracted to them out in that way. And then there's like other people where, they like this person a lot, they fit a lot of qualities that they look for, but for some reason they're just not sexually attracted to that person. And I mean, that happens with a lot of people. But for like asexual and aromantic, it's, pretty something normal for them. And it's not like on the rare occasions.
An aromantic or aro person experiences little to no romantic attraction towards other people and has little or no desire to form a romantic relationship with anybody else. Like asexuality, aromanticism is a spectrum which includes gray romanticism or gray aromanticism, where someone occasionally or rarely experiences romantic attraction, and demi-romanticism or demi-aromanticism, where someone only experiences romantic attraction after forming a strong emotional bond with another person. Aromanticism is considered an umbrella term that encompasses all the identities that fall on the aromantic spectrum. Make sense now?
Yep, makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's pretty easy to understand when you're like actually open-minded and don't want to be a bigot.
Now, there's a lot going on here. Actually, let me amend that. There is nothing going on here. This is a whole lot of nothing, which is trying to sound like something. It's a bunch of narcissistic, fart-sniffing mumbo-jumbo dressed up to sound complex and nuanced, when in fact...
How is it not something? I mean, 1% of the population are asexual or aromantic. That's like saying redheaded people are nothing, and articles about redheaded people is nothing because only like 1% of the population are redheaded people. That just wouldn't make any sense whatsoever.
In fact, all the complexities and nuances are just varying degrees of self-contradiction. There's actually no meaningful distinction between sexual attraction and romantic attraction. The two terms are synonyms.
No, they're not. They're not the same. You can be in love with somebody but not want to bang them. You can be sexually attracted to somebody and not be in love with them. Those two feelings are not the same whatsoever.
If a person told you that they were romantically attracted to you, but not sexually attracted, they will have given you no useful information about their feelings towards you. They will, however, have given you useful information about the tedious inner workings of their own inane and pretentious minds.
No, if they tell you they're not romantically or sexually attracted to you, they've told you two things. They're not romantically or sexually attracted. If they tell you one thing, I mean, they've told you something. They're either romantically attracted or sexually attracted. Just because you can't understand or choose not to understand people, that's your issue.
As for demi-aromanticism, or someone who feels romantic attraction, especially after forming a strong emotional bond, well, that is simply called being a person. I mean, it's more common that a woman's romantic attractions hinges on an emotional connection. But for men or women, this is a rather normal way for things to work.
Not always. But, I mean, not everybody, like, romantic feelings or sexual desires is based upon a strong emotional connection. Some people need one that's like really close. Other people, not so much. Some people, they fall in love quite fast. Other people, it takes a while.
So here we see again how the LGBT cult, not satisfied to legitimize every degraded fetish they can find, has now set its sight on fetishizing even what's normal and healthy.
It's not a fetish. But he wants to he wants to make his audience think that all these people are just like sex deviants and stuff, and the right wing is more of the sexual deviants. If you look at like the kind of porn and stuff, right wingers are known to, search up.
This is a trick they get away with because, as it turns out, plenty of otherwise normal and healthy people want to be members of the cult. The best way to rack...
Man, keep talking about a cult. A cult member talking about a group of people being in a cult and wanting to be in a cult. That's hilarious. And again, being LGBTQ isn't a cult. That's like saying, this person is straight, so they're in the straight cult. No, that's not how it is. But Matt Walsh, he's truly in a cult.
Up social capital is to claim membership in the Alphabet Club. That's because LGBT people in the modern United States are not only not oppressed, but are in fact the least oppressed people to have ever walked the face of the planet.
Wow, that is so untrue. Just Matt Walsh here, making total lies.
But what about actual asexual people? How should we understand those people who really don't experience sexual attraction and who therefore can validly claim the label of asexual?
So he's saying that only certain people claiming to be asexual and aromantic are truly that. So, what test has he created to determine who he truly feels is asexual? I'm curious about that.
Well, I think there are a few things to keep in mind about this group. First of all, I'm extremely skeptical that most of the people that claim to be asexual are actually asexual. Okay, because somebody with a low sex drive is not asexual.
We're not just talking about low sex drive here. I mean, nobody really cares. If you believe people are asexual, you can tell me you're straight, but does it matter if I believe you're straight?
Someone who doesn't desire romantic relationships is not asexual. Keep in mind the left will always do everything it can to inflate the statistics for any of the identity groups that it invents. That's why the leftist group, the Trevor Project, has a page on its website with information about asexuals where they stipulate that asexual people might still, quote, fall in love, experience arousal and orgasm, masturbate, and engage in sexual activity.
Yeah, just because they're asexual. Yeah, you can be asexual and still fall in love. How is that so mind-blowing for Matt Walsh? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, occasionally asexual people will masturbate. It's just not as often as other people, and probably engage in sex occasionally because they know their partners occasionally will want to have sex with them. I know a number of asexual people that end up becoming polyamorous, which is another totally valid form of relationship, and it's so that because everybody understands, one person is asexual, won't have a whole lot of sex. The other person isn't asexual, so they will still want to have sex with people. So they will have another relationship. Nothing wrong with that. It's it, I just think it's funny how like the right wing is so upset about people being able to like form more relationships besides just having um, a straight man and a straight woman. They they really can't handle that kind of idea.
In other words, lots of people they call asexual are not at all, in any definitional sense of the term, really asexual. Most of them are simply just selfish, lonely, depressed people with relatively normal libidos who have chosen asexuality as their identity group in order to give some meaning to their self-centered existence.
Wow, so if you claim to be asexual but occasionally like masturbate or fall in love with people, that just means you're sad and lonely, which is funny because if these people are falling in love with others and having sex, then they're probably not that lonely.
Like most trendy modern identity groups, this one is, for the most part, just a cover for narcissism. It is a coping mechanism to cover up a character flaw, which is narcissism.
Matt Walsh doing a whole lot of projection right here. Oh, if you're this, that just means you're a narcissist, says the big ol' narcissist.
But assuming that there does exist a collection of people who truly, and through no fault of their own, have no sexual attraction, no desire for sex at all, no capacity for sexual arousal, etc., then we could say two things about this group. Number one, it's almost certainly very small. It's not going to be anywhere near 1% or even half of 1%.
How do you even know? Because at the moment, it's only been recently that like asexuality and that kind of stuff have been either accepted or, you know, talked about. So yeah, the reportings of people being asexual is undercounted. So to claim that, it's only like a quarter of a percent or whatever, I mean, it's that's you can't say that. I mean, at the moment, it's like 1% of the population. So, I mean, we know at the moment, like roughly how many people are asexual.
Number two, it's not an identity, least of all a sexual identity. If you truly lack the ability to experience sexual attraction, then something has likely gone awry physiologically.
Oh, now he's gonna say, oh, these people are like mentally like damaged or physically damaged or whatever in some way. That's why they're asexual. No. I mean, and if you want to say, asexuality isn't a sexual identity, then like heterosexuality isn't a sexual identity, and you can just stop like wishing only straight people existed.
Have an issue that you might try to fix rather than making it into your whole personality. Now, you shouldn't be ashamed. It's not your fault, but you also shouldn't.
This is how the right wingers are. Like, anytime they can't understand something, that obviously means somebody's like mentally deficient or physically damaged or something in some way, and they just need to fix themselves. And then they'll become straight and Christian.
Make your inability to experience sexual attraction into the centerpiece of your identity as a human being. Neither does it make sense to be proud of this inability. I mean,
Okay, then people shouldn't make heterosexuality like their identity, and we can do away with Valentine's Day, which is all about, sexual identity and people banging. And, well, for asexual cases, not banging. But, I mean, Valentine's Day is all about, like, sex and sexual identity. So, like, what is the true issue here? Is it just because this um, article wasn't talking about, a guy and a woman banging? Because if they did, Matt Walsh wouldn't have any issue with it. Well, obviously he wouldn't have any issue with it. I mean, unless it was like 2 atheists like banging, and then he would be screaming about how They're glorifying atheism.
I mean, the only thing more bizarre than marching around and claiming to be proud of your sexual attraction is marching around and claiming to be proud of your lack of sexual attraction.
But you honestly don't think it's weird that people are proud of being heterosexual because movies talk about it all the time, and you never make a video talking about how the media is brainwashing kids into being heterosexual.
And that's why today, on Valentine's Day, I will not cancel all asexuals. They have enough to deal with, especially on a day like today. Instead, I'm specifically.
Wait a minute. Matt Walsh wants to cancel people? So Matt Walsh takes part in cancel culture. That's weird. I thought cancel culture was bad, and only the woke leftist mob did that. So is Matt Walsh now a woke leftist mob?
Canceling these flag-waving asexuals like those profiled by the Washington Post, especially the ones who have stuffed animals that they name. They are all today canceled. And that'll do it for this port.
Wow. Matt Walsh, now a leftist canceller. I wonder how his right-wing audience feels about him taking part in cancel culture.